Hey guys, welcome back to the SBP Podcast Mobile Filmmaking. You're listening to episode 161, and I'm your host, Susie Botello. So my guest in this episode, I'm really excited to share with you, is Ant Pruitt. Ant is a regular kind of. He's been here probably about 4 or 5 times already on the show. And he's an expert photographer. He tells stories with his camera through photography. He also shoots videos and things like that. And he's part of the TWIG network, which is This Week in Tech. He's one of the hosts. But I wanted to let you know that he's also been one of the judges for the International Mobile Film Festival a number of years now. And I wanted him to share a little bit with us about telling stories through photography, a little more about Android photography, and just a few other things that we'll disclose, or I don't know, that sounds kind of like a legal term, disclosure. But we'll share them with you as we're moving along in the show. But I wanted to give you a heads up really quick about some dates that are coming up because it's already October. Now, we've got Halloween coming up, and we've also got the first regular deadline for feature films. But then in November, on the 19th, we also have the regular deadline for the short films, all the short films. So for the short film competition and for the rookie films. So these things are starting to just sort of fall into place, and I just didn't want you to miss out. Now, we're already organizing the film festival, which is happening in April 26th through the 28th of 2024. So if you happen to have your calendar handy right now, mark the dates, whether you're participating as a contestant or whether you want to come on over and meet people from this niche community of mobile filmmaking. I think the iPhone 15 is going to bring a lot of new people, a lot of new storytellers into our community. And, being in San Diego, it's a pretty cool place to be. And you know how I feel about the tacos. So anyways, let's go ahead and let's go and talk to Ant. What do you say? I think I heard you say yes. Oh, yeah, you're ready for that? All right, then let's go. Hey, Ant, how are you?
I am unbelievable as always, Miss Susie. What about yourself?
Oh, I love your default answer. Unbelievable as always. Me too.
Good. Excellent.
Excellent. What is that show? Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh my gosh, you went there. I never watched it, thank goodness.
You didn't?
I did not watch that.
It's an all-American classic.
Which is probably why I did not watch
it. I just had to go there. I had to go there and pull up a movie that you've never watched that is like 100 years old by now. But you've watched, other movies, I'm sure. So let's talk about movies.
Okay.
What do you say?
Considering is the podcast is dealing a lot with film, so sure.
Yeah. Well, in the current news of the day, all anybody is talking about is politics and movies.
Yeah.
Because of the strikes and all that stuff, but also, like last couple of weeks, or maybe we're going in. Well, actually, by the time this comes out, it'll be like probably 3 weeks in or a month or something. So the news was it started with the release of the iPhone 15, and then Blackmagic camera app, and then the WGA, the Writers Guild, settled or something. Now we're waiting for the actors. I mean, we're just moving along, and I just think it's pretty awesome.
It's a good thing. Very good thing.
Yeah, it's all happening like stacking dominoes or Legos, depending. But it's like, 1, 2, 3, and it's all revolving around independent filmmaking and just storytelling and filmmaking. It's like, I just think it's pretty, and technology, using the technology for that.
Yeah.
Because there's two kinds of art there's three now with AI, but.
Yeah, you got to throw that in.
Yeah. Well, there's three. Everything travels in threes that supersedes, and then everything else follows along. But there's what I call the traditional conventional art, which is, people who still like to draw and paint and sculpture with their hands and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the tech art, right? Which we use, software and digital, and we put everything online and all of that. And I'm inventing all this, by the way. And then there's AI, which is a whole different animal. It's still artistic in its own form. But that's its other thing. Yeah. And every time I have a guest on, we talk a lot about AI. I end up cutting up the episodes. It's like, I didn't mean for that much to get in here.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I have no problem with you cutting our discussion on it, because I swear I talk about it all the time, begrudgingly.
Yeah.
But it is the tech news. For those that don't know, I am a producer and host at TWIG.tv, which is a podcast network that has, I think we have about 40 hours of content each week.
You guys are awesome.
For consumer technology space, and AI comes up on damn near every one of the shows, including the show that I co-host. And I'm pretty tired of talking about it. I've been pretty tired of talking about it for a couple months now, but I just say my piece, and then I just sit back and watch everyone and listen to everyone say their piece, because I don't have much to say on it anymore these days.
It's what no one's talking about AI on is how it helps challenge people,
accessibility concerns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it totally helps with that a lot. I used to know somebody with Parkinson's who probably would benefit today from that a lot. Mm-hmm. Considering all the stuff that's happening with voices. He couldn't speak very well. He couldn't be understood. And I think AI was right now, right, as it is, would be very helpful.
Let's see, Miss Susie, that is the thing right there. Our craptastic journalism of today, it is all in or all out when it comes to a specific topic. I don't care if it's Ford versus Chevrolet. It's all in or all out kind of news. If it's politics, it's all right or all left. There's no middle ground. And with AI, artificial intelligence, it's all in far as, boy, this is the best thing ever from a technological standpoint, or all out, or, oh my God, this stuff is going to kill us tomorrow in our sleep.
The nuclear bomb, it's going to push the button, right?
No one ever looks at, the middle ground of it. And yes, I am saying this about the so-called journalistic heads of our planet that's supposed to be providing news, and everything's just so damn sensationalized, and they never say, okay, AI is great, but it's not perfect. AI is bad, but journalism. It's not, and it just annoys the crap out of me. And stuff like you just mentioned with accessibility is a great benefit.
Yep.
It is a great benefit, but you'll never hear about it because that doesn't move the needle when it comes to sharing the news with everybody, because it's got to be sensationalized, and accessibility is not sensational.
Exactly. And you know why it has to be sensational? Because that's what brings in the profits for these corporate media organizations or companies or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so it would be very helpful for that. But that's not what we're going to talk. By the way, Ant, I started this panel back in June with a few people. And it's one of the first things we did when we did our first official episode. And I actually titled it that. We can't stop talking about AI.
Oh, gosh.
Because it was unbelievable. And every time I tried to sway, you were talking about the needle, but the conversation into another topic, it ended up, AI became a part of every single topic on that one. And then after that, it's just a running joke with us. Wow. Look at that. We didn't even talk about AI this time.
Wow. Wow.
It's a big deal for artists.
It is.
Especially the smaller independent artists.
It is. But again, as I said previously, AI is not all terrible and it's not all great. It's somewhere in between.
That's right. It's almost human in that sense.
Right.
Well, listen, I wanted to ask you a question because I just remembered. So, you're on Threads somewhat.
Yeah.
I'm on Threads. I like to give a lot of the new things. I like to explore them, and I'm kind of liking it there. And there was someone, I'm going to give her a shout out. Her name is Carrot Cake Art, and carrot not meaning the vegetable or the fruit, if that's what it is now, because tomato is a fruit, right?
Tomato's always been a fruit, but that's for another discussion. Sorry.
Carrot as in gold, Karat, Cake Art. And she asked a question there, and I thought, this would be a wonderful question to ask you, because I knew that you were, I think we had confirmed our appointment to record this on that same day. So here's what she asked, and then I'll tell you what I said, which is very short.
What's the handle again? I'm going to look them up because I have the computer in front of me.
It's with a K, carrot, like Karat, then cake, which sounds delicious, and then art.
Got it.
ART.
All right. I found them. Okay.
So this is what they said. They asked, hey, do we count photography as art, or is it solidly separated as photography? What I answered was photography is visual art. A camera is a tool. And then I told her I was going to give her a shout out if she was okay with that and ask you that question. So what do you think?
I would have stopped at the first question with a yes, period.
Oh, just totally confuse her.
Yeah, photography is art. It is. It is. You answered it perfectly. Because the camera is a tool. Because otherwise the camera is just something that sits on the shelf.
Yeah,
that's about it. But it is a tool to create art. There's going to be people, well, probably not as much now, but at one point in time, there were people that didn't necessarily believe in photography as being an art form because they thought you needed to go out and get an easel and get all of your paints and get your canvases and figure out how to properly mix to get your tones right and figure out how to do lighting on a canvas, whereas a photographer is literally taking real light and creating whatever they need to create. So, but no, photography is definitely an art. It is.
Also in the history of photography, portraits, right? They used to be painted.
Yep.
And then with photography, then people would take a wagon with the gear and do portraits, take portraits of people. And I think the cost of that was a lot. But yeah, it kind of like literally stemmed from art anyways. So thank you for answering that.
Sure.
Okay, check. Ant, you're going to be one of the judges for a film festival for 2024.
All right.
Again. So you are a rock star in our film festival. even though you like jazz?
I don't even know if I'm a star at all in the festival.
Oh, you are definitely. You're awesome.
The creators are the stars. The creators.
Well, that's my
in
thing.
The art, they are the stars, and it's been some pretty good stuff coming in over the last couple of years. I got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I have to tell you, the people that came to the festival this last time when you judged all those all the short films and everything, they said even for the rookie films that there were no bad films, but they were all really good. And so I just want to say thank you for judging, because you do have one of the toughest jobs. I mean, yes, they create them and they're the stars, and I totally give them the red carpet and all that, I give them so much love in our festival. It's I think they were like, okay, enough. but yeah, it's incredible because curating the programming is actually pretty cool, because you saw the difference of you have music, you have some abstract experimental films, you have some documentaries, you have some narrative films, just some little horror flicks and things like that on the short films. And it's just amazing what people can create. So what I want to do is I wanted to share with our listeners some storytelling advice and, with photography, because your thing is photography. Why don't you share a little bit about why photography is your forte?
Well, actually, it started out mostly because of how accessible photography is. Even years and years and years ago, it's way more accessible now, but even years and years ago, photography was just a lot easier for anyone to pick up a camera and get out there and just go shoot. And you didn't necessarily have to have the $3,000 camera. Well, it wasn't really $3,000. Maybe $3,000 back then, 20 years ago, which is the stuff that you would see for the Associated Press and stuff like that. You could just get a $400 point and shoot camera, that what most people were getting for the family vacations every year, and just shoot a lot of throwaway stuff. But if someone actually was deliberate, they could still create some pretty fascinating images with that $300-$400 camera. And for me, that was the I guess it was a bit of the gateway for me, is just knowing that I have this camera and I'm not doing anything else. Shoot something, But there was also the other aspect of me being somewhat a fringe geek and a fringe nerd, where I destroyed my grandmother's camera and I was trying to figure out how to put it back together. So that fascinated me and stuff like that, so that fascinated me and just sort of had me want to dive into the field even more, because I saw the inner workings of a camera and figuring out the fundamental values of what happens when an image is captured. People talk about the oldest cameras being so big that you had to put them on the back of a truck because there was so much gear. And yeah, they were some big cameras, a gazillion years ago, and I'm exaggerating
with a curtain.
Years. Yeah. But before that, you could just use a freaking cardboard box with a hole in it, and that's just, the camera was built off of those fundamentals there. And that just fascinated me. And I just been stuck with it ever since. And it's now more so just an outlet for me. I don't shoot as much as I used to nowadays for clients. But the pandemic really forced me to change my focus, no pun intended. And I started putting more effort into video. But I still love picking up my camera and grabbing stills. But nowadays, the stills that I grab tend to be more stuff of my son or stuff that nobody ever sees. It's just stuff that I like I'll see deer outside, here in the field, and I like to go snap photos of the deer, stuff like that, or birds or hummingbirds and things like that.
Isn't it amazing though, Art, how two people can walk on the same field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And each one of them see and feel something completely different in the same spot almost.
Yeah, and the thing is, and particularly with photography, we would have never known that if there wasn't photography in the space. People go out on photo walks all the time, and they walk the same streets, the same field and whatnot, and tend to be together, like damn near side by side, stop and taking a couple of shots, and you get two different perspectives. And it's a beautiful thing, because neither one is, not necessarily right or wrong. It's just they're different.
Or you're walking on the same street every single day, and every single day you notice something different.
Yeah. Photography helped me with that. Photography helped me with that, as well as my bit of, I'm not paranoid, but I'm not paranoid, but I've been compromised in my lifetime here, digitally. So I'm always a little bit on the security side of things when I go out and about. So I tend to notice things, different from the hour before or the day before and things like that. But photography does help with that if you go to somewhere consistently to shoot. And I have done that. I will go, there used to be this river near the place, near the house I lived in 4 or 5 years ago in Carolina. And I've walked that river, I don't know how many times, hundreds of times. And it was always nice to go down there, because it was never the same scene for me. There was even a specific spot on the trail, and it never looked the same, because number one, the sun is going to move throughout the day, so the light's going to change. And then number two, you have weather conditions are going to change, because in the Carolinas, we actually have 4 seasons. So the weather is not going to be the same on every Tuesday or every Monday. It's not going to be the same. And, when the seasons change, that changes everything else too. It's going to be more green this time of year, or it's going to be more brown and golden and orange this time of year, or it's going to be totally bare, and I love that. And I walked that trail, I don't know how many times. Gosh, I could literally walk it with my eyes closed, as I've walked it that many times,
Yeah, that's so awesome. And that's where the storytelling part comes in, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. Even, if you can, like, thinking about that trail, I have a print that's up that is one of my more popular prints that's sold. And it's from that trail. I've always thought the trail was a bit mystical, because of how often it changes in a given time period. Even within a 24-hour period, it changes. And if you can figure out a way to frame up that shot and capture, what the trail or scene is trying to present to you of the story, you're winning. You got it figured out. And I'm still working on that sometimes, but then every now and then I get lucky and can see, okay, this is it. And that particular shot that's up on antpruitt.com/prints, I called it Mystical Trail, because
I know which one you're talking about. It's beautiful every time you share it.
Because that moment, man, I remember standing right there, and just the feeling that I had when I saw the shot. And I've been to that particular bend and curve of the trail a gazillion times. But that particular day, that particular moment, it felt like some type of mystical energy. And the colors were not necessarily what I have in the final print, but it's pretty close. And that's a weird thing about me. I know, when I go to frame up a shot and I click the shutter, my brain has a vision an additional vision based on what's in the actual frame. And when I come back to my computer to do my post-processing, I do my post-processing based on what I felt and saw in my brain at that particular moment, not necessarily what's on the screen. You know, most people, when they come back to edit, they'll say, oh, this thing is overexposed. I need to pull this exposure back a little bit, turn the brightness down a little bit, you know, fix the contrast. No, I'm thinking, gosh, when I was out there, it was at about 4 p.m. on a April afternoon. The green leaves are starting to come in right now. The sun was at about, 30 degrees angle, and there's just a little bit of shadow coming over here, and it made me feel like so-and-so. And every slider that I hit inside of Lightroom is based off of what I saw at that particular time, and then I won't stop until I recreate it.
That's not, I don't think that's actually, I think that's awesome, quite honestly, is what I do. Because
Thank you.
For me, so when I go out, I see photos, and this has happened to me throughout my whole life. When I was really little, I used to walk around my first camera. I was like 7. And I mean, it wasn't like, it's not a DSLR or anything like that. It was just a little camera. And I used to walk around looking through the viewfinder.
Yeah.
And it was like, for me, that little viewfinder was what, it was like I was in a movie and I was watching a movie, but I was controlling it at the same time. And when I go out just with my phone, which I call, my little window,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you point your little window at anything, everything is a photo opportunity. I mean, I've got almost 8,000 photos on my phone right now because I can't help myself, and I take more than one because, it's not good enough it never really captures it on the first try. I have sometimes, snapped about 12 photos of the same thing, just walking from different angles and tilting and this and that. It's like, this is not exactly how I want it to come out, which is exactly kind of like that, like a vision,
mm-hmm.
But I think that's awesome because basically your kind of thinking is like a cinematographer,
mm-hmm.
Thinking of it as a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you go out on a location and they're framing it. They're seeing the story as a vision play out in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come out with their camera on the day of to shoot it. And they have that vision in mind. And then they have to create that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I still think the cinematographers are light years ahead of me on that standpoint. I still don't think I'm on their level just yet. And yes, I'm a budding filmmaker and still trying to, get a grip on understanding composition and story for moving frames. It's for me, it comes a little bit quicker and a little bit easier with a single frame from a photograph versus, figuring out something to put over even 15 seconds of moving frames. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have nothing but respect for video filmmakers, for what they create and just the process itself to come up with it. Because everything doesn't just happen with film. It takes some direction, it takes some timing, and it doesn't just happen,
Right. Yeah, and you have to visualize it, with all the production stuff.
Yep.
The lighting and the shadows, the time of day. That's
Yep.
another thing they're constantly running against, especially outdoors.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and the clock is like exponentially faster when you're shooting outside.
There was a time we had just minutes. Everything was running behind on this day. And we had
sucks.
one shot. It always does. But it's one shot that we had to get. It was the very last shot for this feature film.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to be at sunset. and the golden hour.
Oh, no.
The golden hour. And everything was falling apart on this thing. And basically, I mean, like, where's the guy with the camera? Where's the guy with the this? You know, where's the this? Where's the AD? What happened to her? You know? Oh my God. And the other thing was, I was a script supervisor for this film, so it was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why is this shirt tucked in? It was not tucked in the other scene that we shot that was supposed to be over here now 3 hours ago type thing, or 3 days ago. Things like that were happening. And meanwhile, the sun's going, I don't care.
Yep. I'm moving.
I'm going down. But we got it.
Nice.
At the last minute. And it was a close-up shot. You know, It wasn't like it was showing the sun or anything like that. But the light had to be that.
Yeah.
And we got it at the last minute. And I even shot a scene for a little video that I was doing for somebody. They were doing this thing anyways. And it was like, they kept going over their lines, and I was producing this for them. And I was like, God, guys, you got to get this right. The sun's going down. We're only shooting this one day. If you don't get this right, you know, and they kept laughing. It was 2 girls. They just kept laughing. They were friends, and they were actors too. And then finally I said, that's it, you guys, you got to get it now. And I just came down on them, and all of a sudden, perfect. And it was just at the last second. That's what I call movie magic, Ant.
I get it. That's sounds like movie stress to me, but man.
Well, it is. There is a lot of it. It's a very stressful job.
Yeah. That's
why one of the things I was saying during these strikes is like, these people, they work so hard, you know, to get every little thing, every little grain of sand has to come together, you know, for this to work. And everything is so dependent on everything else happening that it's you know, they deserve accolades each time.
Yeah.
Even if they don't win an award, it's like, it doesn't matter. You already won because you completed it. You made it. It's in the can, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are some tips that you could give? Now, I know that you are not an iPhone person at all.
No. Let me go ahead and get something clear before I get all of the dadgum messages and mail that I get now that's full of anger. iPhone, an amazing piece of hardware, outstanding hardware. The Apple Silicon, unbelievable processor. Okay, iOS, not my thing. I just don't care for iOS. Mac OS, I am down for Mac OS. It is so freaking smooth. I can think of maybe 3 crashes that I've had in the last year at random, but so I'm down with that. Yeah, I'm down with that. But iPhone, great. iOS, not my thing. So that's why you don't see me with an iPhone.
And your phone of choice has been, but is it still Pixel?
I still enjoy the Pixel line from Google because it's the, quote, pure version of Android. It's not necessarily the best hardware because the Pixel phones have had some issues over the years here and there, and there's other times it's been pretty daggum good. But yeah, I'm an Android Pixel guy. I like bare bones Android.
Did they come out in 2017?
I like to think it was like 16 or 15, but I could be wrong.
No, okay. I'm asking you because I'm not sure. I'm just recalling it because I think, so there was the Windows phone. Was that an Android too, or Android? That's what I thought. It was. It had its own OS, and
Windows
that
phone
went
was actually
out.
Microsoft. It was Windows Mobile. That's what they had back in the days.
Yeah.
And it was not that good, you know. But again, that's not Microsoft's bread and butter. You know, they have other things to worry about to make their money.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. They kind of like own half the world.
Right.
Their stuff.
They're doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not hurting.
But no, I've always respected the iPhone hardware. Well, maybe I take that back. I'm not going to say always. I got on board with the iPhone on iPhone 4. That was a freaking game changer. That phone put us where we are with smartphones, in my opinion. You know,
I agree with you. I didn't even know, you know, the model before that, the 3G or whatever it was called.
They had the 3GS and they had the 3G.
I had nothing to do with that. When I started the film festival in 2009, I was using like a regular Motorola or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't even thinking about iPhones or anything. I just knew something would come out, you know?
That thing was something else. You know?
And it
had
heads.
its controversy with it. It did have controversy with the leaks and all of that, and how Apple went about handling it and so forth, or whatever.
What leaks?
The story with the iPhone 4 was it was leaked by Gizmodo, I believe, because someone found it in a bar, like in New York or somewhere. Someone left it on a bar accidentally. You know, someone that was testing it or whatever left it out on the bar accidentally. And Gizmodo got their hands on it. And Steve Jobs and Apple and company, they went scorched earth after them about getting those leaks taken down and all of that stuff. You know, it was a bit controversial, but it was crazy to see it because the phone was, again, it was like the 4-inch candy bar style phone, but it had flat edges and it had rounded aluminum bands around it and round buttons, and it was unlike anything we've ever seen, you know. But that was all you could see was just the body. Yeah, but that was all you could see was the body. But then when the phone actually hit the masses and you got to see the software and how the software worked, far as being able to take phones and being able to do this task and that task. You couldn't do copy and paste, but but it was the slide. It just changed the way we looked at smartphones, and then it had FaceTime on it too. You know, doing a quote unquote Skype call over your smartphone to someone on the other side of the country or the other side of the world, looking at their eyes and their facial expression during a conversation.
That's like Star Trek stuff, right? Yeah.
And again, I've never been like the huge Apple fanboy or whatever, but that phone right there, I give them the props because it set up everything that we have now.
It was on one side it's the instigator of the technology, right, for smartphones. And on the other side it's the inspiration for where it should go, if as far as getting better than that. Yeah. Starting with that as the foundation. Yeah. Pretty awesome. So anyway, where I was getting
Sorry, I had a rant there. Sorry.
No, it wasn't. I love this because every time you share, your dislike for the iOS, you tell me some pretty awesome stories that I didn't hear from you before, and I hadn't heard this one. So, and you know me, I love to hear stories. So this is pretty good. We were just talking about storytelling, and we were talking about, traditional cameras without going into all the tech and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So basically, you've got a professional camera, right? Mm-hmm. And you, as an expert behind that camera, you've made some beautiful photography, which you sell on your gallery with those. You've also got an Android phone. You've shot photos with that. Yeah. That you have also sold. What is that? Because I think a lot of people would look at that and go, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can only do this, you can only do that. And I think the crossover between those two, that's the recipe, that's the secret, that's the inspiration.
The crossover is the person clicking the daggum shutter, and in this instance, that would be me. And I'm not trying to come off as all braggadocious or anything like that, because that's clearly not my personality. But when people are really into photography, they don't just, it's not just about the megapixels, you know. They don't give a shit about megapixels. Everything's got a lot of megapixels.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter now. You know, so it boils down to what the photographer is doing. It boils down to, you know, being able to visualize a frame in a moment of time, and capturing something that can evoke some type of emotion, you know. Because most shots that we see all over our beloved social media, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or what have you, most of those photos that you see are snapshots. And snapshots have their time and place, okay? Everybody can shoot snapshots. You know, I guarantee you, everybody can shoot a snapshot. But not everybody can just inherently shoot a great photograph.
Compose a shot.
Right. Not everybody can inherently shoot a great photograph just by picking up the camera and hitting the shutter. Not everybody can do that. Everybody has access to be able to do that at some point, but not everybody can just inherently do it right out the gate. Just wake up out of the bed one morning at 6 a.m. and a cup of coffee is brewing and being poured, and they think, oh, let me hit the camera and hit the shutter. No, not everybody thinks that way. Most people are thinking, will you hurry up and pour that coffee so I can drink it? You know, and I think that's the secret sauce there, is being able to spend some time with photography without the camera. You know, you look at some of the images that you enjoy and figure out why you enjoy that image. Is it the subject matter? Is it the framing? Is it the lighting? Is it the post-processing? Is it the props? Is it the point of view? Is it the story that's built into it?
Nostalgia. I know it can invoke nostalgic feelings.
Some type of emotion was invoked there when you looked at that image. You know, so start to study that stuff, and when you figure it out, next thing you know, as you're out with your camera, be it your trusty iPhone or Android phone or what have you, you'll start seeing that stuff differently, and you'll notice that you only pull that camera out when you feel something. Not just because it's there, not just because the shot's there. You'll pull that camera out just because you feel it. As I've gotten older and watched my kids grow up more, you know, right now my son is a high school senior, and he's a great student, and he's a great athlete. And this is the last year that I'm going to watch him perform in high school. Okay. And there are times where I'm watching him out there on the field and he's doing well, you know, but then there's other times he's out there on the field and he's doing well, and it hits me, pick up your damn camera, click, you know? And I'm glad I have those moments, because as a parent, there are times there's things that I want to see with my own eyes of my child. Not from looking through a viewfinder, you know. But then there's other times where I'm like, oh, I need to capture this right now and freeze this moment in time forever.
You know, you just gave me a little bit of I wasn't planning on even. This is something that just came to mind here for a second here.
Whoops. Once again, I'm derailing shows. Shocking.
You're the inspiration. There's a lot of things happening in the world, and it affects people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sadness.
Yep.
There's a lot of contemplation that can evoke sadness.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have noticed, even through my own downtimes, is that ability that I was talking about earlier to look at everything through the vision of it's a movie, it's a photo, and
Right.
that. And I think just because of the way that you just explained that, it just comes to mind that maybe that's something more people should embrace, to go out and about your day and looking at not everything. I mean, a cup of coffee is a cup of coffee, right? But to look at things when you're out and about from the perspective of a creator, right? As opposed to just being consumed as a consumer.
Right. And again, everybody can't do it, but I think everybody can learn it, because it is quite accessible to all of us, because we all have these tools readily available to us. You don't even have to have the latest iPhone. You don't. iPhone 15 Pro and Pro,
whatever you have.
All of that stuff is just come out. Yeah, everybody's it's just whoo, fanfare for the new iPhone. Let me go ahead and tell you, you don't need it. You can use
just
your
a little
old
window.
phone.
It's a little thing made out of glass. You look at it and you see what's in front of you.
Yeah.
You
can use whatever dadgum viewfinder you have. And like I said, for me, you get to a point where you feel it. It'll tug at you to pull it out of your pocket. And I have to get this. And I'm not saying that as in, because there are a bunch of people that are posing, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of posers out there. As I can go to downtown Santa Rosa here and walk around, and I'll see people with cameras around their necks, and these cats are they're taking pictures of everything. Sure, that's fine. But at the same time, they're also jumping out in the middle of the streets, getting the cars honking at them because they're just, I just got to get the shot. And you hear them say some shit like that. And I'm like, you're full of crap.
Yeah.
You're just trying to be seen, because
acting like an influencer. I'm an Instagram influencer taking shots of things.
Yeah, that's bull. You need to be you're still you're supposed to be a responsible human, even though you're a creator.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, you'll feel it when it's supposed to be a shot.
Like I was saying earlier, for me, like if I posted every single shot that I liked that I take, it would take over my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't post the 8,000 photos that I've got.
Right.
I post a select few, and then, it's about the act for me of composing that. And then sometimes I forget about them, Ant. And then later I go back and I go, wow, look at that. And I might post something that I see differently today than when I shot it 3 years ago.
Oh man, yeah.
Even.
That's something else that should be considered and should be discussed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me bringing this up, but going back looking at the things that you've posted previously, when you look at them, take note of exactly what you feel when you go back and look at those old shots. When you look at those shots, do you feel proud? Do you feel angry? Do you feel like, oh, I missed a shot? Or, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Or, dang, I really boosted the saturation on this. I did not have to boost the saturation. Just take a note of all of that stuff. Because it's part of the growth in this space. It's part of your own personal growth. And if you can go back and look at those old images and feel something, you're doing right. You're doing okay. If you look back at your old images and nothing moves the needle, you might start to stagnate a little bit,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But, we're all human. We're filled with internal stories, with different levels of stories within our daily lives. You know, we've got layers of things that we're thinking and things that come from memory, things that we're thinking about that we have to do in the future or think about for the future. We have so many different layers in our thinking in this little brain of ours. It's unbelievable how much room is in there. Hold up. This little brain, look here. I don't have no little brain. Let's get this straight right now. Compared to the some of those, I don't know. You know, what is it they say about elephants, that their brains are really little compared to the size of their bodies, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, all those layers are important. We feel things because of them, and they have our perspective. And that's part of our story in so many levels, that we can turn many stories from one thing that we create, right? It's how you define it, I guess. I wanted to chat before we get too much into this, which we already kind of did, but I want to share a little bit about Blackmagic.
Okay.
Blackmagic Design, a lot of filmmakers use, and it's a monster, and I mean a good monster, of an editing software called DaVinci Resolve. It's such an awesome piece of software, and they give it away for free, and they've been doing that for years, and it's loaded. They also create the Blackmagic camera, right? And it's one of the most popular indie filmmaking cameras out there. I can't tell you how many independent filmmakers I know that when I ask them what camera they're using, they say Blackmagic. It's small, it's versatile, and it's pretty good. And now they just came out with the Blackmagic camera app. What are your feelings on this? Because I know that you do tutorials sometimes of using DaVinci Resolve.
I have the Gen 1 version of the Pocket 6K that came out about 3 years ago, I believe, 3 years ago. But before that, they had other Pocket cinema cameras. They had a Pocket 4K, which is still pretty daggum good.
Yeah.
And they also just had a Pocket Cinema. I think it was another Micro Four Thirds camera too. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they've been doing this for a little while now. And with DaVinci Resolve, they have a free version of DaVinci Resolve as well as a paid version of DaVinci Resolve. The paid version is called DaVinci Resolve Studio, and you get a perpetual license for, at the time of this recording, $299 US, which is an amazing deal considering the competition is on a subscription model. I am an Adobe authorized affiliate, full disclaimer, but I pay a monthly Adobe subscription because I still use Adobe products. I still use Premiere Pro. I still use, from time to time, I still use Lightroom. I still use Photoshop. I still use After Effects, so I pay for that every month. But having a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K camera, I got DaVinci Resolve Studio as part of the deal. And what Blackmagic is doing with this is unbelievable, because what happens with the free version of it is they get you hooked in. You see how great this piece of video editing software is, from not just navigating a timeline, but you get into some of the color grading tools. And a lot of the color grading tools that are in the free version are in the studio version too. It's not much difference in there. There is a difference, but they offer you a lot of things for free. And yes, there is a caveat. The free version of DaVinci Resolve doesn't run as well as the studio version of DaVinci Resolve because the free version does not have hardware acceleration capability. And what that means is if you have a pretty weak CPU on your computer, DaVinci Resolve is going to be super slow. So if you ask people if they've tried DaVinci Resolve, most of the time you will hear, yeah, I tried the free version and it was horrible. It was a horrible experience. And you ask them what they were running it on, and it's usually a laptop that doesn't have a dedicated GPU. You know, it's something that's just not quite up to snuff. You know, so because it doesn't have that hardware acceleration, it is going to be a bit of a bear to run on certain computers. Now, with that said, Blackmagic knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little bit of taste of what we offer you, you know. So I know if you stick around with us for 30 days or for 60 days or what have you, you're eventually going to say, you know what, I'm just going to pony up the $300 and be done with it.
True.
You know, it's absolutely brilliant. And that's the model they've been doing for years. They bought Fairlight, and they bought the Fusion package and whatnot, and they put all of that stuff into one piece of software called DaVinci Resolve. So you not only get video editing capabilities, but you get color grading capability. And color grading is not the same as color correction.
Right.
You know, it's not the same. I'm sure our audience knows this. Your audience knows this.
And our audio.
Then you get the audio, Fairlight. That's who they purchased. They acquired them years ago. And then you get the motion graphic side of things, Fusion. This is all in one app.
It's pretty awesome.
You know, on the Adobe side of things, yeah, you got Premiere and you got After Effects. That's two apps. And you have to do a lot of round tripping every now and then. And granted, Adobe is getting better with some of their things. But having it all in one interface on DaVinci Resolve is pretty daggum cool. And
that's incredible.
And what they're doing with the Blackmagic camera app on iPhone is just another page in their playbook. They've been down this road before. We're going to put this camera out here for free. For free. For anybody that's got an iPhone and has an inkling about trying to shoot video. And the iPhone that I have here that is a test unit, I think it's an iPhone 12. I can't, dang it now, it's not on my desk right now, but I think it's an iPhone 12. So it's not even the latest model. And I played around with it, and yeah, it's fine. It's great. And as soon as I've put it down, because I've played with it probably 4 or 5 times now, and every time I put it down, the next thought in my head was, okay, so what's their next move? What are they going to do to give me as an add-on, you know? Because that's all it is. They're basically just trying to pique my interest into taking this video footage and putting it into DaVinci Resolve. These newer iPhones are now able to shoot ProRes and log and you pull that into DaVinci Resolve and realize, you know what, I can throw a LUT on this and it's going to look great. And then I can do further color grading on it because it's ProRes, and ProRes is pretty daggum lean and mean. And oh man, so wait a minute, now I need to do this. I need to put this motion tracker window on here because I want to make sure someone's face is blurred throughout the whole scene. Oh, I can't do that in the free version, but that's in the paid version. Oh, it's only $300 for it for the rest of my life?
$300, that's been the price for Final Cut Pro for years.
Yeah, right. Final Cut was the same thing. Final Cut gave you the perpetual license. You know, and Blackmagic has done this with this piece of software. And next thing you know, you're looking at, okay, they offer a camera. Oh, this camera shoots 6K and it's only about $2,000, and it uses the lenses that I already have.
That's where I think is part of their plan.
Yeah.
You know, with this, it's like, well, you're going to buy an iPhone for $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
If I mean, yes, you can make payments, and if you're up for an upgrade, all that stuff, right, makes it way affordable.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like it's the middle ground next step as far as in their world, because now it's like, well, I could just get the Blackmagic camera and the paid version of DaVinci, and I need nothing more. Now I'm ready to make Marvel movies, basically.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. And it's outstanding what they've done, because it continues to go further than that, Miss Susie. You get the 6K, and that's on a Super 35 sensor. Now they've announced the Cinema 6K. It's not a Pocket 6K. It's a Cinema 6K. And that means you have a full frame sensor, bigger sensor, more photons, capturing better low light performance against a sensor that already has some pretty freaking spectacular color science. So now they got you in on that. And then you start to think, well, what about doing live streams and doing stuff for, I have some clients that are wanting to live stream or do some talking head stuff and interviews, and, they want multi-camera shots. Wow, this camera is only $2,000. I can get one more. Okay, now I can connect them up to my computer. Oh, shoot, they're HDMI. I only have one HDMI port. Wait a minute, I need a switcher. Wait a minute, they got switchers that are only $300?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, I can add more and more and more, and it's all right there within the same
all right there
company.
In the ecosystem. And then it goes even beyond that. Wait a minute, I need more than these 4 inputs. I need 8. Oh, you have a switcher for that too, and it's only $1,000 HDMI, and you're going to give me full camera control? Oh, wait a minute, I've decided to build an actual broadcast studio, so I need some type of networking capabilities.
This is kind of like what Apple does.
Yeah,
right?
They have all
they bring
these
you
tools
into their world, their universe, and you see nothing around it.
Right.
Your options are all right there with them. They're holding the bag, and everything's compatible, and it works very well with each other.
It's brilliant. I wish that we could become a full Blackmagic camp at TWIG TV, but we won't, because quite honestly, what we're doing now for podcasting is overkill.
Yeah. Well, you guys have been doing this for
we've been doing it
forever.
for over 15 years, and we are definitely doing a lot of overkill, but boy, it looks good. We do a damn good. It does.
It looks like broadcast,
we
like
do
you're
a
on
damn
CNN
good job.
or something.
Yes, we do a damn good job with all of our shows. We do. But yeah, sometimes I do wish that we went full Blackmagic. We do use Blackmagic's Video Hub tools to help us with switching cameras. We have a new tech TriCaster, but we use Blackmagic's Video Hub hardware that allows us to figure out what inputs are what and so forth. And it's just super freaking easy. But man, if we had just these studio 4Ks from Blackmagic and just threw those on a stand in the studio, gosh almighty.
That is really cool.
But again, that would be total overkill.
Yeah, it's like a kid with all the toys. Oh my God, if I had all the, I hear you.
That is the thing that one thing I love about the company is, the Laporte family, they made these investments years ago and created a product that we have today. But they're like, you know what? We're not going to spend any more money on stuff like that because it's total overkill.
And you don't need to, because nobody else is. Yeah, and nobody else is able to do what you guys are doing.
Right.
It makes it really. That's like, yeah. By the way, I'm going to publicly thank you for interviewing me in your show.
No, that's no problem.
Just seeing the TWIG logo at the beginning and everything. Oh my God, I was like a 16-year-old. Just look. Oh my God.
I get it. Trust me, and it's not a problem. I appreciate you being on.
No, it was like the highlight of it. And that was like 2 days before the film festival too.
That's
I was
right,
like,
yeah.
okay, I
That's
gotta
right.
beat this. I gotta beat this feeling now. So, all right. I think we covered pretty much everything. We all now know how Ant feels about
iOS.
Androids. No,
How
I'm
much
trying
he
to put
hates
this on the
iOS.
positive light. Blackmagic cameras, and that's unfortunate too. That and hopefully they'll come out with an Android version.
They won't.
They won't.
They won't. They won't.
They don't need to.
They don't need to. It is.
I know.
It is extra work to come up with an Android version because of all of the different versions of Android out there on devices. It makes no sense for them to
I've
come up with
actually
an Android version.
heard a long time ago. I was like, why do they always come out with the iOS version before? And somebody told me a long time ago, and see, I don't know if this is still holding true, that it's more difficult to make an Android to work with the Android.
It is.
So I'm right. So
It is.
So whoever, yes, so that's still correct. Okay.
And I'm going to use difficult loosely. Okay. It is. Yeah. It is a little more inconvenient developing something for Android because there's more than one flagship device out there. You have Samsung's whatever device they have. Then you have the Pixel line, whatever device it has at that time. So that's two flagships right there. They don't both have the same uniform screen. They both don't have the same type of chipsets. And then you have the other Android phones that most people buy, because everybody doesn't buy flagships. Everybody's not spending $1,000 on a damn phone.
I know. They come into the film festival. I'm like, what is this? And
right.
I'm Googling it. You know, yeah.
Yeah, the sensible people are buying phones that are
in other
budget.
countries too. In other countries, they use phones that we've never even heard of here,
right.
especially in Asia and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm like, what is that? That is
right.
interesting.
So the developers have to figure out, okay, so, that's not a 6-inch screen. That is a 5-inch screen. Oh, that's not a Tensor chip. That is an, Snapdragon 400.
And that's why there are more free apps on the Apple Store or whatever, iOS, than there are for Android.
Yeah. Apple keeps it simplified for developers. It's not necessarily difficult. It's just more convenient.
And, you know, when it comes to creativity, you're always experimenting. And that's what I always say to people is like, well, if your main passion is creativity, I mean, we all know you got to work and you got to do business stuff on the computer, which Apple can handle that too, you know. But if your passion is creativity, then just get a Mac, you know. So, well, awesome, Possum.
Possum. Oh gosh, bless your heart.
You made me feel 15. It's all that 15 talk. I appreciate you coming onto the show. Your input, your information, your advice, your tips, your inspiration, all the knowledge and experience you have.
Sorry for being long-winded. I'm sorry for being long-winded.
No, that's see, we go deep in this podcast. That's actually part of the attraction, you know, that someone can sit down and really be inspired by it. It's almost philosophical in a way, right? Because that's how we think anyways.
Yeah. This is
food
true.
for thought. You know, we got to keep thinking.
Yep.
So, Ant, any last words for? I feel like I'm. When I say last words, it always is like, why do I keep saying last words? You know, like.
How about parting shots or parting notes?
Yes. Any last something?
I have nothing other than, folks, make sure you're continuing to get out there and shoot because you feel like shooting, not because you're forced to do it. Get out there because you want to be out there and just shoot. And you don't even necessarily have to be, quote, out there. It could be right there in the comfort of your home, too. So just please continue to shoot when you feel like it. And also make sure you're checking out all of the fine content at our podcast network that's been around about 15 years. Maybe it's a little more. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. It might be a little bit more. TWIG.tv. And my particular show that I co-host is called This Week in Google, which 80% of the time we talk about other things beyond Google. It's
like
more
iOS.
It's
No,
more
I'm just
about
kidding.
it's more about big tech in general. But that is This Week in Google on the twit.tv network. Our website is twit.tv/twig for This Week in Google.
Thank you, Ant. Say goodbye to our listeners.
Goodbye, listeners. Good to see you.